This video is going to teach you how to convert between different metric units. Metric systems start in the 70s. It's based on moving the decimal place by factors of 10. You don't need to memorize a whole bunch of stuff to do metric conversion. It's quite simple. Once you know how your prefixes relate to each other, the conversions become very easy. To start you off, you need to know the prefix for kilo is a K, the prefix for hecto is an H, deca is a DA, then you're going to have a deci is a D, centi is a C, milli is an M. On the far left and far right, there are big units of measure and little units of measure. The mega is a capital M, and the micro is a lowercase, funny looking U. It's called a mu. To pronounce MU, it's a U with a tail, the Greek symbol. That's called a mu. The metric system can be used for units of mass, so grams, kilograms, grams, micrograms, megagrams, milligrams. Those are all things you're familiar with in your everyday life. Metric system can be used for capacity, so for volumes like liters, milliliters, kiloliters. For distances, so meters, centimeters of snow, millimeters of rain, kilometers of distance. Those are all very common units in your everyday life. Your job is going to be to generate these prefixes across your page and be able to convert from one to the next. Remember that the unit's always in the middle, so whatever the unit is will change. If it's a gram, it'll be a G. If it's a liter, it'll be an L. If it's a meter, it'll be an M. Could also be something like unrelated to those three things. It could be like a volt. Could be an amp. It could be a byte for computer applications. All kinds of systems use metric prefixes. Let's start with an example and try and teach from this example. So say we had a distance. Let's just say our distance, or maybe a height, 383.7 centimeters. Let's just say that was snow. And you wanted to know how many meters that was. Well, you first of all have to start on your conversion table with where you're located. We're at the centi, which is a fairly small unit of measure. You want to change it into a meter, that's the unit. You're going to have to divide by 10, divide by 100. You're dividing by 100 to go from centimeters to meters. That means that if you're going to divide, the decimal is going to go in the same direction. So you're going to start with your original placement, divide by 10 to go to deci, divide by another 10 to go to meters. Your final answer would be 3.837 meters. If the original question was of 383.7 was your height of your snow, and you wanted to know how many millimeters that was, you would go in the opposite direction. From centi to milli is 1 unit away to the right that time, so your answer would be 3,837 millimeters. Prefix for milli, unit of a meter. Centi is a prefix, M is the unit. Prefix of milli, that would have been centi to start, to go to milli to end. Sometimes you will hear me use the phrase to help get this into your head of ketchup, which is the symbol for the K. Ketchup has destroyed, and then I'll use an M in my mind here for the unit. Ketchup has destroyed my delicious chocolate milk. And if you can generate that phrase and get those prefixes down on your page, you should be able to get them in order and be able to convert from one to the next. What you have to be aware of from the very beginning is the difference between the kilo and the mega. These two dashes on this conversion table are not there for good looks, they're there for a purpose. To go from kilo to mega is in fact 3 places away. or the difference of 1,000 in terms of 10 by 10 by 10. The same with micro on the other end. Micro is again a difference of 3 places from the milli, or a difference of 1,000, depending on if you're multiplying or dividing, the direction you're starting and the direction you're finishing in. For example, if you had a voltage of 0.379 and the unit of it was a megavolt, I can use the word megavolt or a symbol, which is a capital M with a V. Once you get that capital in your head, then you'll know where to start. Megavolt's going to start at the prefix mega, and we want to change that into, let's say we want to go to a volt, the unit. How many volts is that? So we're at the mega, so it takes a factor of 10, 100, 1,000 to go to kilo. We're going to the right, so we're going to multiply by 1,000. We're going to go another 1,000, 10, 100, 1,000 to the unit. That's a grand total of 1,000,000. To put your decimal in proper position, you can use your calculator, multiply by 1,000,000, you can move it. 10, 100, 1,000, 379, and then another 1,000. You can drop it and fill in some zeros. You're going to get an answer of 379,000 volts. And that is the new voltage, changed from a megavolt to a regular, plain, simple volt, the unit. Let's do a conversion that requires a conversion in the mass with grams. Say you had a really small mass, 0.028 kilograms. Prefix K says kilo, G is the unit of grams. And you want to change that into, let's say, milligrams. Taking the big leap. So from kilo to milligrams. Notice the lowercase m, not an uppercase m, so we're going to go from kilo to milli. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 places to the right, 4, 5, 6. Just so happens to be another question where you're multiplying by 1,000,000. 1, 2, 3 is 1,000, and then 3 more zeros. The next 1,000 you get 28,000 milligrams is the conversion after you multiply. Let's do a microamp to a milliamp. 31,500 microamps. So a mu, microamps, want to change that into milliamps. Notice a lowercase m. Going from micro to milli. I'm dividing this time by 1,000. I'm going from a small unit of measure to a bigger unit of measure, so the answer is going to get smaller. Dividing by 1,000. Right now it's at the end. Your answer is going to be 31.5 milliamps. Another one. Let's do one with maybe a deca in it. So say you had something like 745.6 decimeters. You want to change that into hectometers. Not very practical, but it is good practice. I'm going to go from decimeter to hectometer. You're going to divide 1 to the unit, 2 to the deca, 1 to the hecto. So 3 places to the left. Your answer is going to be 0.7456 hectometers. You started here, 1, 2, 3, plop your decimal point, you're done. Deci to hecto, in this case, hectometer. Let's do a computer application. Let's do a megabyte to a kilobyte. Here's the question. 0.0000452 megabytes. Notice the capital M. And I want you to help me to change it into kilobytes. So mega is the biggest unit that we're going to deal with on a regular basis. And you want to go to kilo. That's 1, 2, 3 places to the right. Your answer is going to be 3 places to the right, 0.432 kilobytes. That's not very much space, or very much RAM, or whatever the hell bytes measure. You're going to see a lot of questions involving capacity or volume in liters. Very common conversion. Say you had 4,200 milliliters of beer, and you wanted to know how many liters of beer that was. To do the conversion, you need to know that you're going from milli and you want to go to the unit. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Places to the left, you're going to get a smaller answer. 1, 2, 3, 4.2 liters. So you buy a 500 ml bottle of water, and you want to know how many liters that is. You divide it by 1, 2, 3, divide it by 1,000. That's a half a liter. That makes sense. You can apply that to the knowledge you already know. Let's do one with mass. Say you had a mass on your job site that was 18 million grams. That's a very large number, which is not practical to measure in grams. There's bigger units of measure. Let's change from grams into metric tons. The first thing you'd have to know is that a metric ton is the same thing as a megagram. So from the unit of grams to mega is 1, 2, 3. Don't forget the ones in the middle. 4, 5, 6 places to the left. Your decimal is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That mass would be 18 tons. You can say 18 whole. You can do 18.0. It doesn't really matter. The value is still 18 tons. So whenever you hear the word metric ton, in your mind think, oh, that's a megagram. I'm not going to say that. I'm never going to give you these prefixes to work with. It's your job to generate them across the top of your page and do your conversions, or use the skills you already have, other courses or previous metric questions to help you to do these conversions. But remember, ketchup has destroyed my delicious chocolate milk. Bing Bing Mitro and Bang Bang Mega. And generate that list and then do your conversions. Metric to metric, all you have to know is where the decimal goes, how many places that it moves, and how to write the prefixes in front of your basic unit. What we're going to do next is how to do conversions between metric to imperial and imperial back to metric.